Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to a special meeting of the Conservation Commission. Tonight is Wednesday, March 23rd. Today's meeting is being attended remotely to keep us safe. I will read the governor's suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A and subsection 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather at one place as extended on June 15, 2021, with the governor signing of State Bill number 24575, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, allowing public bodies greater flexibility, utilizing technology, conducting the meetings under the open meeting law. This meeting of the Peabody Conservation Commission was conducted remotely, participating to the greatest extent possible. No person attendance of the meeting of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access proceedings in real time. Again, I want to welcome you all to the meeting tonight. Commissioners that are in attendance, Vice Chairman myself, Mike Rizzo, Stu Lazarus, who's the Chairman, Lucia Del Negro, who's our Conservation Agent, Mike Villardi, who's our Secretary, Bruce Comack, Commissioner, Rita Marie Cavicchio, I think she's an alternate tonight, Amanda Green, Commissioner, and Arthur Athis, Commissioner. Tonight on the agenda is under violation order issued to Salem Country Club for the following activities: removal of living trees, grubbing stumps in buffer zone in close proximity to jurisdictional resource areas, and depositing wood chips in buffer zones and along local riverfront woods. The property address is known as 133 Forest Street in the city of Peabody. Who's in attendance here for Salem Country Club?
Yep, I can put, I will first put, I think I saw Devin, and Mel. I will promote them, and then as long as they tell me who's in the audience that wants to be promoted, I can promote everyone to panelists so everyone can turn their cameras on and unmute themselves at their leisure.
Okay, Stu's still not here, right? Okay.
It looks like Stu's on.
But
yeah, Stu, can you hear us?
There we go.
I think I made it.
Excellent.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Okay, then you're on, Stu.
And Lucia, if you could add Bill Rocco, Peter Fischel, and Barry Fogel.
Say that last name. I think I did Bill Rocco, Barry Fogel, and what was the last name?
Peter Fischel.
I think Stu is having a malfunction. We're not hearing you good, Stu. Would Peter be under another name? Would he be under Salem Country Club Boardroom?
I bet you that's it.
That's good. That's your sister.
There he is.
Yes, Stu, I'm not sure if you need to log back out and back in because you're coming up, like we can't even hear you. You're kind of like the background noise.
Can you speak, Stu?
I can speak.
Yeah, your voice is,
Maybe something's wrong with the mic.
can you hear everybody, Stu? Maybe why don't we just continue then and keep working on trying to get your voice back to us. And do you have a cell phone, Stu, that you could pick up the audio using your cell phone? You could go on the link that way, I think.
Yeah, you need to call in, Stu, because we have to mute you. We can't hear anyone. And I also want to remind everyone, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself, because last month or last two weeks ago, it was really bad. So should we move on while Stu calls in?
Yeah, Stu, if it's okay with you, we'll move on and okay. All right, Lucia.
I promoted Mel Higgins and Devin from Weston and Sampson, as well as members from the country club. Just to give a little, a quick Cliff Notes version of how this all happened. Believe it was either late December, early January. The country club did call or emailed me to let me know that they were going to start tree work on holes 6 and 7. They got that permit and they were outside of the appeal period. And so I knew that work was going to be going on. And then that weekend, I received numerous texts from City Hall, from Kurt Bellavance, my boss, asking me if the country club had permission to remove trees. I, said yes, because they do have a permit to remove about 20 or 25 trees over on 6 and 7. And then what ended up happening was many more trees were removed and work was done inside buffer zones, local jurisdiction buffer zones. And this is where we're at.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay, I'll turn the meeting over back to Stu. Oh,
I muted
Stu,
him,
you just
sorry.
muted yourself.
I muted him because I
Oh.
thought, did we want to have,
No, Stu's got the audio from his phone, so if you could unmute him.
I think he has to unmute himself. Oh my God, we might need to go back to in person because this is getting
There.
crazy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, okay.
What I wanted to say was, did you introduce all the commissioners already?
Yes, right. I've already opened the meeting and read the governor's rules
Okay.
and read the violation order. So,
Okay.
and now the petitioners are here.
So now we hear from the petitioner.
Yes.
Is Lucia done with her intro? She was giving a little summary.
Yep, that's pretty much it. I went out on the site visit sometime in January. I want to say we were out there for about 2 hours. I highly suggest that we have another site visit now that it's warmer out. Stu, I have to mute you because sorry. Otherwise I can't think. And that's where we're at. They submitted some paperwork. They were supposed to be here, I think February 9th, and then we ran into some open meeting law issues. I do think that time is of the essence. We need to get out and do a site visit before we get another perhaps snowstorm and before it gets cold out.
Okay.
I mean, do you guys want me to show you the areas that I had the most issues with and then put it over onto the violator?
Yeah, that'd be
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys can obviously hear me still, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so right up here, can you see this black? This was probably the area that I was the most disappointed in. To me, it looks like they just did a linear clear cut, trying to obviously expand this fairway. This is a locally jurisdictional intermittent stream. I do not believe it's state jurisdiction. And this area right here, again, I would like to go out and see all of this. They were issued a cease and desist, so hopefully they didn't put any hydro seed down. They did email me and ask for hydro seeding, and I told them they should not hydro seed. So this was an area in question. Right over here, number one, there was some buffer zone. These purple blobs are, obviously, I'm assuming you guys know these are wetlands. Then this was another area that work was done. This little yellow is a vernal pool, but I'm pretty sure no work was done near that. So those were the areas that I was most concerned with. And then after thinking about it, there was also work done right along this bank here. I don't know exactly how much work was done. I know there was shrubs and vegetation taken out. When I was on site, it looked okay, but the more I think about it, they did work on a bank without even notifying the commission. This is the pond that they did come and get an after the fact filing for that irrigation well. This pond over here, I do not consider this jurisdictional. This is definitely a man-made pond. It has a liner in it. This is a potential vernal pool dot, and I do not believe this would be categorized as a vernal pool. So GIS is not always accurate. So that is it. I know Mel and Devin worked really hard cataloging the area and the issues I had, and I would just put it over to for their rebuttals. I do believe that all of the drainage, everything is locally jurisdictional.
Which is resource to us and protected.
Correct.
Lucia, I think you opened it up to us, and Barry, if memory serves, I think that Peter was going to start with a statement.
Yes, Peter will take it from here.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Peter Fischel. I'm the General Manager, CEO of Salem Country Club. And let me introduce our team. We got Devin Herricks and Mel Higgins from Weston and Sampson. We got our attorney, Barry Fogel, and we got our Director of Grounds, William Racco. I would like to make some brief comments, and then we are available to answer questions the commission members may have. Salem Country Club takes full responsibility for the work to remove trees and other vegetation that is the subject of the violation notice. The commission can look to SCC to address these issues. Since receiving the notice, we have carefully reviewed the work that was done and the full scope of the commission's jurisdictions under both the state and local rules. We are aware that some of the work was done within areas subject to the commission's jurisdictions, but we found that a lot of the work was outside those areas. We have determined that nearly all of the area that is within jurisdiction includes the 100-foot and 200-foot buffer zones that are established by local ordinance. We also found that large portion of these areas are not areas of continuous undisturbed vegetative cover. They are areas where regular vegetation management is conducted, including the mowing of fairways and rough and cutting of lower growing vegetation along the edge of the tree line next to these mown areas. This is why we did not think that this tree cutting was something that needed prior review by the commission when we filed for the work in the wetlands on hole 6 and 7. However, we have become aware that the removal of trees in these areas should not have been conducted without your prior review and authorization. To move forward now, we are prepared to discuss what kind of restoration activities might be appropriate. We also would like to discuss how we can identify and set the boundaries of no disturb zones on the property that will mark the limits of where the routine golf course maintenance work can be conducted. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I want to introduce myself and then pass this on to Mel and to Devin. I'm Barry Fogel from Keegan Worland, and I'm an environmental attorney working with the Country Club in responding to your notice. As Peter just said, as we've looked at what was done, we've identified that the vast majority of the trees that were cut were outside of any of the jurisdictional areas, including the buffer zones, the 200-foot buffer zone to streams and the 100-foot buffer zone to other resource areas. And that even among the number of trees that were cut in the areas that are within those buffer zones, fewer than half of them were in areas that were outside of the areas of the golf course that are routinely managed. Fairways, rough, and the lower area underneath the tree line. So I think Devin probably has a helpful figure like the one that Lucia put up, but it actually shows how we've, at least from a preliminary standpoint, have identified the areas on the course where the resource area boundaries seem to be. It is preliminary, but it gives you folks a good idea of how we've been evaluating it and where we think the specific areas of concern to look at during a site walk, as Lucia suggested, would be focused. So is it okay if we proceed with that discussion for now?
yes.
Great. So Lucia, if you want to walk, Lucia, sorry, if Devin, if you want to walk folks through how the layering is on this figure, if everyone can see that, Mr. Chairman and Vice Chair and members, you can see this? You can see this figure on your screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. All right, so Devin, if you would, why don't you walk through what we've identified as a preliminary review?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Is everyone able to hear me clearly?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I'm Devin. I'm a wetland scientist from Weston and Sampson. So on your screen, you should be seeing a course map. So just to give you a review, the areas shown in green are the wetlands as shown on the Mass GIS data layers. We also have the streams that are shown. Those are in blue. And we have a bit of the course layout shown in purple with the T's labeled with the numbers referring to each hole. So if we need to address anything by particular hole, we should be able to. So what we've done is last week we were able to go out and we put a GPS marker on each cut stump that could be found on the property. So what you see in front of you is each yellow dot represents a cut tree on the property. And now I'm going to shift just to give you a little view. So here it's the same map, but we've added a couple of layers to help clarify what falls within and outside of Conservation Commission jurisdiction. The bubbles shown in a light gray are all of the areas within jurisdiction. That's 100 feet from the water bodies, being the ponds rather, and 100 feet from the wetlands and 200 feet from the streams. What we've also done is all of the trees that were cut that fall within these jurisdictional areas shown in gray have been highlighted in red. So the trees in red are those that were cut in jurisdiction according to the maps that is available on Mass GIS. I should note we have not been out to field verify all of these boundaries. The last little area that I'd like to explain is the highlighted areas shown in orange. Those are areas on the course that are consistently maintained. They're fairways, areas that are consistently mowed and maintained by the golf course. So I'll let you folks just maybe look and digest for a few moments. And
Devin, sorry to interrupt, but
please, Barry.
those areas shown in orange are where the maintained golf course overlaps the jurisdictional buffer zones.
You're right. I did not explain that well. I apologize. You're right. We didn't highlight all the maintained areas on the entire map. You're right. We only highlighted those maintained areas within Conservation Commission jurisdiction, just so the map didn't get too busy.
So if I could, Devin, if you could focus in on the area that Lucia started in up at 15 at the top.
Absolutely.
That would probably help us. So this is the area on the 15th hole fairway to the top of it where Lucia pointed out in the beginning. As Devin pointed out, the yellow dots are trees that were cut outside of any jurisdictional area or buffer zone and buffer zone. And the red dots are trees that are within areas of jurisdiction. And again, as you can see here at the top, those are in areas at or adjacent to the maintained areas of the course. Similarly, you can see the other, where are the other red dots, but that's how we've depicted this as a preliminary matter. And Devin, if you could, we'll come back to this, but can you pull up that sort of summary table that we had?
Absolutely. Barry, is this the table you were referring to?
That's the one. So if you could
All
maybe
right.
zoom it in a little bit, so
Happy
unless
to.
folks can people read that? So based on this preliminary review that has been conducted, 680 trees were removed. 205 of those were in jurisdictional areas, primarily, as Lucia pointed out, the 200-foot buffer zones to local intermittent streams. And of those 205, 116 were within maintained areas of the course. So the summary is 683 was the total, 478, a full 70% of those were outside any area of jurisdiction. And of the 205 that were within jurisdictional areas, 116 were within areas that have been routinely maintained by the course, and 89 so were not in those maintained areas. So in summary, 89 of 683 trees are trees that were in areas that are jurisdictional and have not previously been maintained. So as Peter pointed out, that was the reason so much of the work that was being contemplated as part of the tree removal for the course work was outside of any wetland area, unlike the work that was proposed at 6 and 7. And so that's why this tree cutting was not included in a filing that was made. And the course understands that it for at least those 89, at a minimum, those should have been included. And the course folks are here now to answer questions you have about it, but certainly about this or the figure that Devin put up. Devin, did that cover everything I think that you had in your? And we can go back to the figure and look at any other areas, Lucia, that any member of the commission wants to focus on. Going forward, we would like to have a site visit as soon as you can schedule it and take a look at that. What we expect to do is at least a standard wetland delineation within the areas where this was done to confirm the boundaries of the vegetated wetlands. I'm understanding from Weston and Sampson that some of those areas shown on the Mass GIS as vegetated wetlands might be oversized, and in the field they actually may be smaller, but we want to confirm that with a standard wetland delineation and then move ahead with developing a mitigation or restoration program that's called for in your violation notice. Thank you.
All right, through the chair then, so you folks are finished for the moment?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you know, we've been here before with you folks. This is not something that only happens once. I mean, Salem Country Club, I'm sorry to say, but you folks are habitual repeaters of doing work within the buffer zone or resource area without contacting the Conservation Commission or getting necessary permits for doing work in jurisdictional areas. This is not the first time. And it's been many times this has happened. And quite frankly, it's very frustrating to have you here tonight almost to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And this is, my opinion, this is your OM. This is what you do. You go and you do all this work knowingly that you're in resource areas. If anybody knows about taking care of lawns and landscape areas and understanding vegetation and trees, you folks are experts. There's no excuse for what you did, that you didn't come to us and call us to go out there, even just to walk the site. You folks know what's jurisdictional, what's not jurisdictional, what wetlands are and what wetlands aren't. You know about our local bylaw and also Chapter 133 of the Wetlands Protection Act. This happens time and time again. And you folks should be ashamed for doing this, that you would come here tonight with your hats in your hand and telling us, okay, so how can we fix this? We shouldn't be here tonight for this. This should have all been determined ahead of time with us, walking the course. Perhaps most of it or some of it would be fine with. Maybe some other areas we would not be. But you would have known ahead of time how we felt and what's jurisdictional. So right now it's hard to determine exactly. I'll take your plan as correct, where the resource areas really are, what work was done that is jurisdictional, not jurisdictional. But speaking for myself and maybe for the rest of the commission, I'm really upset with that we have to be here tonight for this. The way I see it, I think we definitely have to do a site visit. I would request that the commission have a peer review to determine the resource area boundaries independently at the cost of the Salem Country Club. And determine what needs to be done to correct that. I mean, you folks have pointed out that there were 205 trees that were jurisdictional, even though some are within fairways you folks mow. Again, if it's buffer zone or jurisdictional, you can't cut trees down. So you can't take those out of the list. You can't take those trees out, in my opinion. If there's 205 trees, they're all inclusive. It's in resource area. You have the ability to use those resource areas. But you're supposed to maintain that as what the law says. And you can't clear or cut trees without permission. And this is what you folks done in years past We did this back when we had the senior open. Cutting trees down, creating parking lots for buses, only to have to go back and plant new trees. Shouldn't have happened. So we definitely got to do a site visit. Would look to issue fines for the work that you did. We have requirements for fines, $300 per day per offense. Those, in my opinion, should be retroactive back to when the first tree was cut. And how you would plan to restore something when you've cut all these trees. You know, you got to put the trees back. And you cut, I don't know what the size of these trees were. Maybe they were small trees, maybe they're 18-inch trees, 24-inch trees. I don't know until we go out there and see. But this is painful that we have to be here tonight for this. So I want to hear from the rest of the commission, and also I would like to hear from Ann Manny, who is one of our city councilors, who brought up some issues that are very concerning to me. If anybody else in the commission would like to speak on this matter before we ask Ann to speak, please do.
Yeah, I just, what was the purpose of doing all this tree clearing again? What was the end goal that you needed to remove all these trees? I'm asking the Salem Country Club.
Peter, you want to speak to that?
Actually, I think it's for agronomic reason. I think Bill Rucker can explain it better than I can. Billy?
In a lot of areas, it was to create sunlight, air movement, and promote better turf and a better golf course.
So are you changing some of the holes and the tees? I mean, is it going to be, are you redoing some of your holes and tees?
No, but we're trying to improve what we have already. I mean, we have areas that struggle in the past, especially greens that have just over time, they barely get through a summer, and we're just trying to make them better.
So so some greens aren't going to be used anymore? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
No, this was in an effort to promote a better growing environment for greens, and sun and airflow are essential for grass growth.
Over the years, the trees, when the course was put in 25, there is way less trees and it encroached by 30%. And if a tree competes with grass, the tree wins every time. And if you create the bucket greens and you're not creating the airflow and the sunlight and the right growing environment, you cannot have a green like our golf courses deserve. So that's why we needed to thin out the trees to create better growing environment for the grass.
oh, when you determine which trees to cut, did you review a map showing what the wetlands boundaries are? Did you look at one of those?
Yeah, we looked at those and we felt, and we learned otherwise later, that if it was in a maintained area, we could cut the trees. We found out later that's not the case.
So the plan of your golf course isn't changing at all?
No.
I too express the disappointment. This is a rather large project. I don't know how often you cut 600 trees down within, I don't know what the last time it was that you cut close to 600 trees down. It's a pretty large project, and for you to just dive into it without consulting the Conservation Commission or our agent is disappointing that you wouldn't plan better. When was the last time you had a major tree cull over, say, 300 trees?
I think 1999, but what happened since then is if you don't upkeep the trees on a yearly basis, you end up with a lot of deferred maintenance. And that was the problem, because the encroachment became so big that we had, instead of doing a small yearly project, we had to do one big project to get back on track.
All right, thank you.
If I may, I'd like to say a few words, how I completely echo Mr. Rizzo's statements previously, and I completely support him. And it's shameful that a corporation like Salem Country Club would take these measures without consulting City Hall, state, any review first prior to this kind of, like Mr. Rizzo mentioned, a country club is, one should know that maintaining grass and maintaining trees and the complete knowledge that one should have for maintaining a golf course when wetlands and waterways are included. It's completely shameful. And then Mr. Rizzo said previously, it's not just the first time. I've been on the board just for the commission for a short time, 3 years, and it's the second time that this has happened while I've been on the commission and it's really disappointing that the commission, the company would just take measures without going ahead and finding what's right first and getting permits. And I hope that this will never happen again, because you guys will make fences, demarcations, something that will identify in the future years, 20 years from now, that nothing like this will ever happen again, because there will be clearly signs, fences, markations that will identify these wetlands areas.
Through the chair,
Thank you.
through the chair.
Yes.
So just to not, I don't want to go over the same things over and over and over again. As far as I'm concerned, this is normal golf course maintenance that just had to be brought to our attention. I have no problem. I'm probably going to be I'm probably the commissioner that's going to be the most, I play a lot of golf. So and Salem Country Club, as far as I'm concerned, is an asset to the city of Peabody. However, this is blatant. I don't care what anyone from Salem Country Club has to say. I think that Weston and Sampson did a great, what a marvelous presentation you guys did. Doesn't matter. Everyone knew what you were doing was jurisdictional. Everybody at Salem Country Club. Now, Bill Rocco, I assume you're the new superintendent. So you haven't been there for 50 years. But anybody that's in the golf course business knows what's jurisdictional and what's not. They know about wetlands, they know about streams, and I get it that some of it's in maintained area. But you know what? And just to repeat what Michael said, if you came to us and you presented all these things, just a real slick presentation, just like you just did right now, I guarantee you over 50% of the trees that right now we're saying that they were in maintained areas, we probably would have said, go ahead and cut them. But this is a mocker. This makes a mockery of the commission. Every single time that you come up here and you beg for forgiveness because you just want to go and do it, it's not right. It's not right. And we're here. Listen, our job is to protect the wetlands. And again, I'm probably the guy that's going to be more on your side than anyone. And it's it's ridiculous. I know that you all had meetings and said, how are we going to present this? And that's great. You did a great job. It's a real slick presentation, but everybody knew damn well what they were doing beforehand. Okay. And you came to us and you said you were going to do some work. You got the permits for the work that you told us you were going to do. You knew you were doing the other work at the same time. And you just happened to omit that. So all that's not right.
Anybody else in the commission?
I just want to ask Salem Country Club, how long has your turf manager been working for you?
A little bit over 2 years.
Over 2 years. That's great. And do you have a high turnover rate for your turf managers?
No. The last one was here 35 years.
35 years, so he might be the problem then, huh? Yeah, I think in addition to what's gonna happen with the finding and everything, you guys are gonna have to be subject to some kind of, like, making up some kind of plan, like an O&M plan for us to review, so this doesn't happen again, because, I mean, if you're saying, you can't, obviously it's tough to grow grass in the shade, turf, especially for the golf course, but yeah, they're gonna have to have some kind of plan in stone so it doesn't happen again.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Michael, we homeowners come in all the time and we give them a hard time for cutting down one tree that they didn't know. And a lot of times homeowners don't know. This obviously is not the case here. And I would like to, part of whatever we end up doing, we make homeowners put in granite bounds with signs on them that say, no disturb. I think that needs to be done at this point. I mean, how many times are we going to go through this? And that those bounds can be in, they're not going to be, I don't believe that they'll affect the golf course, the play of the golf course.
That's a good idea. Any other commissioners want to speak on this matter? I'm seeing none. Lucia, do you want to open discussion up to any public officials who may be here, want to speak?
Sure, Counselor Manning Martin, did you want to speak? If you do, if anyone in the audience wants to speak, they can raise their hand.
Yes, Lucia, I'd love to. Would you like me to speak now?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much, commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity to be heard. I'm not an expert on environmental law, and I'm very appreciative and quite frankly fascinated by the level of care and attention this board applies to matters within its jurisdiction. And I thank you all for your due diligence.
Thank you.
In the case of cutting trees and disturbing buffer zones and resource areas by the Salem Country Club, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And from my point of view in this case, it's not even believable. and I'll tell you why. Throughout the Salem Country Club expansion feasibility report conducted by Weston and Sampson, it is it's repeatedly mentioned that Peabody zoning and wetland bylaws are stricter than state and federal regulations. In their report, Weston and Sampson identifies buffer zones and setbacks. Weston and Sampson explained the city of Peabody ordinance requires 100-foot buffer zones that should indicate do not disturb area and that no work be allowed within this area. Yet I'm told that extensive renovation bunker work was done in the buffer area to include the removal of hundreds of trees without Conservation Commission knowledge or approval. Salem Country Club was well informed of our city ordinance protecting certain areas of the golf course, but moved forward with the work anyway. Our city ordinance also protects ponds, streams, creeks, brooks, whether intermittent or continuous, natural or man-made. And any activity proposed or undertaken to disrupt these areas required notice of intent or requests for determination. I am told these steps were not taken until the Concom initiated that requirement only after the work came to their attention, after the damage was done. I recognize that only altering or disruptive activity within the buffer zone or resource area is under the Concom's jurisdiction, but I want you to know that I applaud the Concom's serious review of these allegations and appreciate your effort to hold the club accountable should your investigation warrant fines or other reparations. I want the Concom members to know as well that I have taken steps to address the removal of hundreds of trees outside of your jurisdiction, as I found their removal devastating. Since 1983, Salem Country Club has been granted a 75% discount on the property tax under Chapter 61B, Open Space and Recreation, amounting to a break of hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. They apply for this yearly and have been granted the relief due to the public's benefit, such as wildlife habitats and clean water. However, Chapter 61B does not allow for clear cutting of trees, and on the contrary, requires a state-approved forest cutting plan to harvest any trees to improve the value of the land, whether for the wildlife, scenic, health, or dollar value. I am told they have no state-approved cutting plan. Such a plan would have spared centuries-old trees and otherwise healthy trees from being destroyed. So as a resident, a taxpayer, and a city councilor whose responsibility it is, among other things, to set the tax rate, I find it galling that they are pleading either ignorance or error in clear cutting the hundreds of beautiful trees they used to set themselves apart from being taxed at the same rate as other private businesses. Given their annual 75% tax discount, I considered the Salem Country Club a guest of Peabody homeowners and businesses who instead experience increased taxes year after year. I feel as though the Salem Country Club should have protected the very trees they hid behind for years. Instead, they killed them. This appears deliberate and a case of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. I feel it's time for the guests to pay their fair share and be held accountable for their actions, as would any other resident or business in the city. I thank you for doing your part, and I assure you I will do mine, as I have already asked the city to review if these actions have jeopardized their 75% tax discount, as I believe they have. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the results of your investigation.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else here want to speak on this matter? Okay.
Yes,
Stu, anything you wanted to bring up? I know you can't, you're having trouble being able to speak with your.
Can you hear
mic.
me now?
Stu, I think you need to use, I see that you're in the audience, so I'm gonna allow you to talk, so use your phone.
Can you hear me now without the echo?
Yes.
No. Okay.
You
No,
sounded.
we can.
good this time.
We can hear you, Stuart.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, without the echo?
Here
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, I agree with what Mike said, 100%, and I agree with what Ann Manning said. It's important that we formulate together a plan to remedy the situation as quickly as possible. And any expenses that we incur, we just ask for the Salem Country Club to reimburse us. I'd like to see personally either every tree replaced or 2 for 1. I think that it's important that, I understand it's important that you guys have more sunlight or something to grow grass. In my case, I just trim the tops of the trees. I don't cut the tree down. I mean, it's just the massive cutting, 600 trees, 700 trees. Somebody there should have said, whoa, we don't have any place to put all these tree trunks. And the neighbors have to come up and say, something's going on, it's wrong. You guys should have known better. At this point, I don't know what the next step should be, other than come
I
up
think
with.
we need to do a site visit. I think we need to do a site visit too.
Yep.
Michael, should we
but I
have,
think,
should the wetlands be delineated before we do the site visit?
yeah, I'm thinking that maybe we need to have a peer review or somebody to come in on behalf of the commission with permission from Salem Country Club to allow them on their property and maybe work with them to identify jurisdictional areas and resource wetlands. And then part of the site review can be the commission to view those boundaries and then walk the site and try to summarize what should be done, what can be done. But I think just to go out, I mean, I'd love to go out there now and see it, but it'd probably be more appropriate if we had the areas marked out. And, you know, you have to do it in such a way that it doesn't stop the ability to be able to golf. You don't want to have, you know, things out there that become obstacles, but where the boundaries are, and then being able to either run a tape at these areas, you know, because it might run into the in the fairway or something like that, but a way we could, without too much difficult, walk the site, see the resource boundaries, and then make an evaluation of what we feel is should be appropriate for restoring.
Can I suggest spray painting?
Excuse me?
Can I suggest spray painting? Yeah, spray paint where you want, where the limit is.
I'm open to whatever might work.
Well, that wouldn't interfere with the.
Through the chair, I think we should ask Bill Rocco what he would feel would be the least intrusive. He's gonna have to open the course pretty soon, number one, and number two. Bill, have the stumps, I know we stopped everything and I know that what's going on, but in the areas that you considered the trees to be in maintained areas, were those stumps already ground or are they still there?
Yeah, most of the stumps are gone.
So were they
Ground
pulled?
or
Were they
stump.
pulled? They were pulled or ground, or what were they
Ground,
doing?
ground right where they are. Ground, and except for the example of 14 and 17T, which are out of jurisdiction. 100, I mean, at least Weston Sampson said that after the fact they said that we're pretty good in those areas. Those areas were they were pulled.
If I could, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
So, as I understand it, there are still a couple of places on the course where there's some of the debris, like small branches that when Lucia was on a site walk with Bill and the folks from Weston and Sampson, she asked that nothing be removed. So we were thinking of doing this in a couple of steps. We'd at least like to get someone out for a site walk so that Bill can show you where there's at least some cleanup that he wants to do that won't be disruptive, but at least will allow the course to open. And then Weston and Sampson actually is scheduling to do a wetland delineation along the boundaries of the areas in question. And Devin, jump in here. When did you think you might be able to do that and have enough sort of growing vegetation to have that be reliable?
Anytime, as long as the ground stays clear, wetland indicators are evident starting now. Our skunk cabbage has already popped. So it's fairly easy to do a delineation at this point moving forward, as long as we keep snow off the ground.
Got it. So Mr. Chairman, to continue, I would think that the first thing we'd at least like to do is to get someone out so that Bill can at least, I'll call it, clean up some of the stuff that was in place that Lucia asked him not to move. The next immediate step would be to get our wetland delineation done that you can look at with you mentioned a third party taking a look at it, but we will have done a wetland delineation that they can validate. And then in the longer term, we had the same idea that someone mentioned here, one of the members, or maybe more than one, about establishing sort of the boundaries of where course maintenance could go on, so that there would be sort of as according to what I've now seen in your ordinance, sort of establishing a no disturb zones along the course, as distinguished from maintenance areas. Does something like that make sense in sequence, Mr. Chairman?
yeah, I suppose I'd be willing to do a site visit in the interim, more immediate, and then once everything is all laid out, we could get a better lay of the land and see what should be done. But that would be okay with me if it's okay with the rest of the commission. I think next week's supposed to be good weather.
And we can coordinate that, with Lucia. I should want to make one final thought on that, is that ultimately, I think whether it's an RDA or something that establishes, the limits of no disturb areas. We're in a violation context right now, but as a couple of the members mentioned, I think what you're looking for is, and it might have been Mr. Comack, looking for sort of establishing the limits of a no disturb area around the course so that Bill or his successors know what's in and what's out of maintenance, and what kind of maintenance. So that's the longer term.
Yeah, that can be determined at the latter part of what the restoration and the plan's going to be. I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm okay to go out there, relatively soon, so that if there's debris out there, we can all agree that debris can be removed, and then continue once we perhaps get another engineer on board and review your wetlands and your resource boundaries.
So would you like to have Devin contact Lucia and just kind of find, after she finds out what members have as availability for, Friday's a warmish day, Monday and Tuesday look clear, as I just got the weather review, but they're colder, but they're clear, so.
Yeah.
As soon as Lucia can organize however many of you want to come out.
What's your availability, Bruce?
Can you do I mean, I could do Friday, this time of year, it's tough on me, but,
We need to notify, a notification, right?
I understand that, but could we do Friday midday? Well, I'd like Lucia to be there. Friday's a short day for her. Could we do, I don't know if she could stay late that one day and get it, let them, I don't think it should take more than 2 hours. I can't imagine, if we could get there at 11, we'll be out of there right after. As long as the Salem Country Club will allow us and maybe provide some, I guess, Bill, is the course dry enough that you can allow carts out there? It's gonna rain tomorrow.
It's gonna rain tomorrow. We might get a lot, but we can still get through where we need to be with carts. So I think no matter what, we can accommodate.
And I don't know how many members of the commission can do it on Friday. I'd like to get this done as quick as possible so that they can clean up what they need to clean up. And then we can go forward from there.
And if I could, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Comac's point, it should be quick because the areas that Bill has in mind are very few. It's not, if you just want to look, this first step for the areas of sort of cleaning up debris, there's only a couple of spots that you would need to look at, as I understand it. Is that right, Bill?
That's correct.
No, it also gives
All
us,
this, we're gonna fall all over ourselves to get there so they can clean up debris. Jesus Christ.
We're only asking however soon you would like to come out, we'd be appreciated. We're not demanding anything. We're making a request.
I mean, I could be available Friday if you want to do it Friday. I don't know how the rest of the commission, if they want to do it next week.
So we're gonna be going out there without the wetlands delineation being established.
Well, I think the opportunity that I see is I get to see what's happened now, not a month from now, while waiting for, wetlands being delineated and hiring a consultant and going through it. I get an opportunity to see it now. So that's the advantage that I would see about going out Friday. I get to see it sooner. And if it means that there's a couple spots where they can clean up some brush, then it's okay with me.
Why don't I suggest that Devin get in touch with Lucia maybe tomorrow and just pick a time on Friday when she's find out how many of you can make it if you want to go that route. Does that make sense? Devin, are you available Friday?
Yes, I am.
And again, I'm not suggesting that you inconvenience Lucia either. So, I mean, if she has certain time hours on Friday, we're not asking.
And people work, so people have jobs and
Right.
stuff.
So it's really what works for you folks. As you, Mr. Vice Chairman said, however, whenever you can get out would be helpful for this first step.
I know Stu is not available this Friday, and I have a meeting with the mayor on the 25th at 10:30, and I don't know how long that's going to go. If Friday works for everyone, I mean, April 1st would probably be a better fit for me. Otherwise, any other, I mean, I have deadlines and stuff, but regardless of all that, I don't think the 25th is going to work really well for me this Friday.
Okay.
I'm not able to attend either.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the only one out there.
Would Monday work?
April 1st is better for me.
Which day is April 1st?
Friday.
Friday.
Next Friday.
But next Friday it's going to rain. According to my weather thing, it's going to rain.
Good luck to that.
But anything up till next Friday, weather looks good.
Yeah, I'm wide open on Monday, the 28th, regardless of all the other deadlines I have on other projects. That's something that it has been bothering me. This is taking a lot of the city's resources away from other projects and hyper focusing hours upon hours of my time, and Stu spent a lot of time reviewing things. So I just want to also remember that. And I think Amanda did make a good point. You guys are jumping through hoops so that they can get out and clean up so that they can get their course ready, when they didn't care about your permission or they disrespected you. I'm fine getting out there because I think time is of the essence. I wanted to get out there back in February. So you guys say when you want to. I think I would prefer to set a date tonight, though, so that the public knows and they're aware. And if there's more than 4 people, will be covered under the open meeting law.
I want to jump in if I could, Mr. Chairman. The open meeting law doesn't apply if you don't deliberate. You can have the full commission in the field. As long as you don't deliberate to a decision, you're allowed to all be there. But Monday would be great if you could do it. We were hoping to be on your February agenda, believe me, and we appreciate the time you're putting into this. But if Monday works, that would be great. We would appreciate that.
Monday is good for me.
What day?
Monday, it's fine.
Monday?
28th.
28th,
What time?
whatever.
Michael, can you make it on Monday?
Yes,
What time? Anytime?
I can make it anytime.
All right, well, I can only do, I could probably do 1 o'clock.
Is that good for you, Stu?
Yes, that's good for me.
How about anybody else in the commission? I know it's a weekday.
I'll be there if it's after 11 on Monday.
Okay.
I can only do, I'd be lucky to make it by 2, but you guys do what you gotta do. It's important that you guys, majority's there.
Mhm.
I'll be out of town.
So that's a no?
No.
Bill, you can accommodate that obviously at 1 p.m. on Monday in Devon.
Yes, we can.
That would be great. If we can do 1 p.m. on Monday, that would be very much appreciated, Mr. Chairman.
And you think it's gonna rain?
Monday, no. Well, it's gonna be just
Okay.
windy, I think, according to my forecast.
Your almanac there?
Okay, so Stu and Lucia and Bruce,
I might be able to join Michael.
me,
Me, Rita.
Ollie, and okay.
We do have a lot of people in the audience watching, and I don't know if I'm taking a step out of turn, but I'm wondering if we need to allow people to comment from the audience. I don't.
Well, I
Chair.
think I kind of said that, but maybe I wasn't clear enough. Does anybody else wanted to speak on this matter? But was there anybody in the audience, Lucia, that wanted to speak?
There are 47 people in the audience right now. And if they would like to speak, they should raise their hand and I will allow you to speak. And if you do want to speak, you need to state your name and address, please. So as of right now, I don't see anyone raising their hand, but there is a waxing and waning. It goes from 44 to 47 to 48 attendees. So there is definitely people here tonight.
Well, if anybody does want to speak, try. Everybody has a right to speak, but I just don't want to maybe be repetitive if that's being fair.
Yeah, as of
Yeah.
right now, I do not see anyone, no one's jumping and raising their hands to speak. Oh, wait, there's
We got
one
Sudi,
person. Hold
Sudi's
on.
raised their hand.
All right, hold on. I'm looking for it. I see it now. All right, I'm gonna allow Susan Smoller to speak. Whoops.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Good evening. I expect there are other people who have things to say. They're just trying to digest everything that's been happening. But I'm here because I'm really active these days with Breathe Clean North Shore. And we are very much concerned with climate change. And according to my research, Salem Country Club originally said they were going to remove 40 trees and that they would replant 2 trees for every tree that they removed legally. They then removed 205 trees. So even if you just held them to that 2 for every one they took away, that's 410 trees. I think it should be even greater than that if you're really wanting to send them a message, because one mature tree, one, absorbs carbon dioxide at a rate of 48 pounds per year. In 1 year, an acre of forest can absorb twice the CO2 produced by the average car's annual mileage. We have to start thinking about this. We have to start thinking about carbon capture and that trees play a role in cleaning our atmosphere. And you can't just go around cutting them down because the grass doesn't grow great. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Lucia?
Not at this time.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Through the chair. So at this point, you folks are gonna go out there and get a rough idea what happened. But we are not gonna know for sure where until the wetlands delineation study is complete, as to how many trees would have fallen under the Protection Act. So, and at that point, we would come back after the delineation, the wetlands and everything is tidied up like that. We would come back and talk about tree replacement, locations of tree replacement, and also financial penalties for violating the law anyways. So is that basically the plan that we're going to be taking? I'm asking the commission. I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, I
You're
was
on mute, Michael.
Yeah, I was muting people because I don't know if you guys all heard someone's paper shuffling and I kept muting people and it wasn't their shuffle. So I'm sorry if I muted you.
Yeah, wasn't me. I wasn't shuffling anything.
Wasn't me.
I think to answer your question, we're talking 2 site visits. So the site visit would be just to get out there and have our observation in the damage area. And then once the delineations are laid out, identified, the commission, we can go back again and, set some ground rules and with because we're not going to have anybody hired by next week. So I think we just want to get out there and see what happened. And then once we have a consultant in place, there'd be our eyes and ears to review the delineation and help us in making our judgments.
All right, thanks.
Can we get a date that
So we're
delineation
looking,
is done?
yeah, I think that's where we're almost there. We're talking about Monday, the 28th at 1 p.m.
For our current, for the current visit.
Yeah,
But I think we need we need a date for the finish. Somebody's got to give us a delineation. And I
Yeah,
need
so
a
how-
date for that.
well, we have to go through the steps to get a peer reviewer. And then in the meantime, though, they're going to have, Salem Country Club's going to have their designer flag everything. So it might make it easier for our peer reviewer to go out there and either agree or discuss making changes to the flagging.
Chairman,
Yes?
do you have a specific third-party reviewer that you use as a commission, or do you bid that kind of work?
Well, I have somebody, I have a couple people in mind. I don't know if the city, if they have to be on an approved list. They're people who have used in the past.
Yeah, the reason I ask is, do you normally sort of make a motion and take a vote to get a scope of work from a third party and then present that to the proponent?
Yes.
If so, I think this meeting was noticed as a public hearing, correct?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
I think it was. So I think it would be appropriate for you to actually take a vote now to start the process of identifying your third party. And then we can, and I don't mean to, I'm not imposing, I'm suggesting, we set a date for the next meeting when you want to continue this item, and pick a time when Weston and Sampson thinks they will have completed this delineation, and then it can have been presented to your third party reviewer, et cetera, et cetera. So, if we could take it in steps like that. Devin, when would you imagine would be the time when you guys would have this partial delineation of the areas where work was done ready for submittal for someone to look at? Do you have a sense of that?
Hey, Barry, I'll take that one.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
just looking at our schedule, and we currently have it on our schedule for April 5th. And if that's too far out, there's a possibility to shuffle something. We can maybe pull it in a few more days.
And to clarify, that would be starting on April 5th. It's rather a large area and probably take multiple days of effort.
So if we were to, if I could go on, if we were to pick a date, like a month out from now for another hearing, we probably would have that delineation available to you and your third party reviewer if you were to have proceeded with that in the meantime, with getting them on board.
Well, that's, I would defer to Lucia on that, because this is a special hearing. So I don't know what the time is to get on our next hearings. I don't want to be having special meetings for you guys. We meet once a month.
And when is your April meeting?
April 13.
I believe Lucia's going to tell you that it's too late for that. You can't get on.
Correct. It's April 13.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can continue this to April 13th for further discussion, but I doubt Devin and Mel are gonna have the wetlands on a plan by then if they're just getting out there April 5th, and it's gonna be multi-day.
I do think it is worth putting it on that agenda, deciding now to continue to then, and then if we have something ready before then, great. If we don't, we go to your next meeting.
Okay. All right, well, then let's do this. If somebody would like to make a motion on the commission to enter into an agreement to get a peer reviewer for this project.
So
I'll
move.
make a motion to find a peer reviewer for the review of this Salem Country Club properties delineation.
Second,
Second by
me,
Stu.
Stuart.
All right, I'm
Okay.
gonna go ahead and do a roll call, but so are you guys going to have them file an ANRAD then?
Yes.
An order of an abbreviated, a notice of resource area delineation? Or we're
I
just
think an
doing this
ARAD
all,
is the-
because right now all we have is a violation order. We don't even have an enforcement order. So did you guys want to vote on issuing an enforcement order so that Mass DEP is now notified? Right now,
Yes.
it's local. When I read quickly, I thought a lot of the Weston and Sampson's rebuttals were stating that everything was locally jurisdictional, and now it sounds like this is state jurisdictional as well as locally jurisdictional. So I'm wondering if you guys want to, that's fine if you already made the motion for a peer review, that's a great idea, but I'm thinking we should also be issuing an enforcement order with action items. And one of the action items would be that they file an ANRAD, and then that ANRAD would be peer reviewed. But I will finish with this motion though. I'm sorry to talk in the middle of it all. So there was a motion to hire a third-party peer review on the floor made by Secretary Vivaldi, seconded by Chairman Lazares, and the roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Colmack,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so that has passed 7-0 for a peer review, and we can talk offline about who the commission wants, unless you want to talk about that now.
No, we'll do that offline.
Okay.
Okay, and.
You make a good
thank you-
point.
Thank you, Lucia, because I think that's a good idea to issue an enforcement order. Because the enforcement order gives us more time constraints, or better timing for us, because under a filing, then they could just stretch it out and it may never get addressed. But a enforcement order, they have to address in a timely manner. So should we do a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to issue an enforcement order for the property of Salem Country Club for the removal of trees without permission within jurisdictional areas.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Can we,
Second by
can
Bruce.
can we add action items?
Yes.
Because I would like to add the site visit number 1, and then the wetlands restoration plan.
Okay.
And a wetlands delineation plan, correct?
Yes.
I mean, in that enforcement order, you guys can also ask for, Bruce mentioned some bounds, and Amanda had mentioned a maintenance, some sort of an operation and maintenance plan going forward.
Okay. Yep.
At this rate, at this point, because of every time we're back here again, I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't know what the law is, but I believe Salem Country Club should come in every year and do a review, and of their O&M plan and what their plans are. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I agree because I think that they're part of the community and they should tell us what's going on and they should involve us.
Yeah, we did that with aggregate industry for many years
Mhm.
and worked out well. It worked out well. We got to see the place, to show us what they're doing, develop good relationships. It's probably a good idea.
Was that part of the enforcement order?
Well, I think we better be part of the filing when we end this thing. But yes, be part of the O&M plan
Okay.
whenever that is implemented.
Yeah, and I can amend, this first enforcement order, I've amended them. You can amend them many times. Like if we draft one and then 2 months down the road, we're like, hey, we think that we need this, we can amend it and send it back to DEP and add, take away action items if we feel they don't need to meet some conditions anymore.
Okay.
But so right now, we already set up a site visit, which will be on 3/28/22 at 1 p.m. Are we gonna meet at the maintenance shack like we have in the past? Or somewhere else at the clubhouse? I feel like most of the stuff is over by the clubhouse, or do you guys not want us, to
No,
be
let's meet
seen?
at the clubhouse because that's where all the golf carts are. That's where all the stuff is. We need to get around. Clubhouse would be the best at 1 o'clock.
All right, and I'm gonna go ahead tomorrow as soon as I get to City Hall. I am going to post it because we are going to have a quorum, and I know what the law is, and I still would hate for anyone to think that we were deliberating without notifying. So I will be posting that 48 hours. As long as I get it up tomorrow by 1, we should be all set.
Okay.
So again, that
Is there a
motion is on the
motion?
floor for
Yeah.
a wetlands restoration and a wetlands delineation. And did you want to add the O&M plan? Or do we what do you guys want to put in
No,
this?
that's fine, because we don't really know what, yet, the involvement, what the restoration plan is gonna look like yet. But yes,
So
Yeah.
as of right now, we'll just do do the action item would be wetlands delineation. And
Yeah.
have that, the latest would be our May hearing, which I can tell you, I think May is. I think it's May 11th is our meeting, so I would hope that they would have it done by May 11th. I do not think they're gonna have it done by April 13th. And I would prefer them not rushing it.
okay. Okay, so the motion is to continue to May 11th.
Oh,
No, we're gonna, yes,
we had the motion for the on the floor. We didn't vote on it yet.
no, we didn't. No, that's
Enforcement.
why, is the motion gonna be for, continue to our next meeting or May 11th? That's the question.
For-
I mean, we could have them, after as a courtesy, just so that the residents know how the site visit went, so they're not waiting around, until May, whatever
Yeah.
date that is. At least give a little bit of an update of what we saw.
I think that's a good idea. Okay, so this will be continued to our April meeting.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out action item dates, because if I put you have to submit a wetlands delineation and I don't give them a date, well, that kind of leaves it open for them to,
Yeah.
lollygag. And I don't think Devin or Mel are going to do that, but for us, we want to make sure that we have it. I would probably say before, 2 weeks before the hearing. Whatever
The
that.
May- The May
Okay.
11th hearing?
Maybe April 27th.
Yes.
Well, through the chair, can we ask Devin and Mel what, if they get out there on the 5th, how long will it take to put it all together?
So of course, it's gonna depend on field conditions, but hopefully, I mean, we could get it done in, trying to see what day the 5th is.
A Tuesday.
Tuesday. I mean, I like to think by the end of Thursday, the 7th, and this is all weather dependent, of course. Say the 8th, that we could have the delineation done. We'd record locations with GPS and add it to the CAD plans. I mean, it's possible if things fall in line. My question is, once the delineation is done, are you then expecting the ANRAD submission by the 13th?
The 27th, right?
May 11th is the following meeting.
Right, but I thought the question was, when can we be finished with the delineation? I'm just trying to figure out, we might be able to be done by, say, April 8th. Falls in line well with the weather and everything. But then my next thought is, delineation's done, and what does the Concom need from us?
Well, I think
to meet the enforcement order.
We're gonna have to do.
I think for the next meeting, I think at best you'd be able to show us a plan with the delineation on a plan, and that's pretty much going to be what I would expect at that time. And then at that time, that plan could be available for our peer reviewer, and what the scope would be for them in moving forward.
But would we, before your peer reviewer gets the plan, should we officially submit an ANRAD?
Would that make the deadline? Is that going to make the deadline, Lucia?
It would make the deadline for the May hearing. I'm thinking that they submit what they can by April 13th.
Yeah.
We probably would have a brief discussion. I think it's going to be a really long meeting, and enforcement's at the end. So this will probably, hopefully we can move it along and we're not talking like hours on it. But I would think we accept it, and then you guys would make that decision. If you want them to file, I'm assuming you guys want them to file an ANRAD so that these wetland boundaries are going to be set in stone for 3 years with the state and with the commission.
Yeah.
And that would just be straight up wetlands. We're agreeing with them where the wetlands are, where the boundaries are. And then for 3 years, at least, they have no excuse if they, touch buffer zone or wetlands.
Yeah. And again, our local ordinance needs to show in that plan.
Yes.
Sure. But for clarification, this delineation would be not a delineation of the entire Salem Country Club. It's just the areas that are under this discussion for tonight. Because if we're going to delineate the entire Salem Country Club, that's, 250 acres. There's a fair amount of wetlands. That's a big undertaking.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why it's good for us to meet next week.
Yep.
Because we get to see the site, and you can bring that up at that meeting and say, this part, we're not going to be delineating this part for this.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
why
great.
I think that initial meeting is important.
Yeah, so through the chair, this is just one very small section that we're going to be meeting on. If you remember a few years ago for the senior open, there was illegal work done over by the underpass or the overpass of the highway. I can share my screen if you guys, I just want to refresh your memory of, if I can find, so there's more. They still have an open order of conditions right here where they created a parking lot. I think it was this area. Hold on, there we go. it's not the greatest, moves the wetlands. Somewhere around here,
Is it the gray area up above your cursor, Lucia?
it's
Keep going up.
these wetlands, right? You guys built a parking lot there, and I'm pretty sure
Further
that's where it
north,
is.
Lucia.
No, it's
No,
not
further
built.
north,
Oh,
Lucia.
it's right here. There
Yeah,
we go.
exact.
Right
That's it.
there. There it is.
So, I mean, I think it's important that all of the wetlands, because today the issue's right here, tomorrow or next week, it could be over here, and they'll say that they didn't know that there's wetlands there, which I don't know how anyone can say there's not wetlands here. If you just look at if you do your due diligence before creating a parking lot, you would have seen that there's a big blob right here. So it's really up to you guys if you feel comfortable them just delineating over here, and we'll worry about this, you know, in the next few years.
Yeah, Lucia, if I could jump in real quick. I think what we were thinking of was to keep this moving forward, do this partial delineation so that we can get the restoration plan in place and, you know, address everything in this enforcement order right now. So we can do that with a partial delineation. When that's done, you know, a month or two later, we can then complete the delineation, so that really we'll have a complete delineation within a couple of months. But just so we could deal with this enforcement order first, we'll delineate, you know, just the areas that are being contested right now. And then maybe a month after that, we do the final delineation, we finish it, and then we can start to work on the O&M plan for the country club. So we definitely didn't want to push off the entire delineation for a year or two. We still do want to address it.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
The process.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we do have a motion on the table for a meeting. Did somebody second that motion?
There was a motion for an enforcement order made
Enforcement
by
order, yes,
Secretary Vivaldi, seconded by Mr. Comack.
okay.
And it just has a site visit, which we already have set up, wetlands. I probably won't be able to draft it before the site visit, so that's kind of not really gonna get in there. The wetlands restoration plan and a wetland delineation plan, or you do not want the wetlands restoration plan right now. You just want so basically the only action item will be wetlands delineation.
Yes.
Are we talking about a partial?
Partial.
Partial delineation, right? That's what we.
Yes, just to be submitted to the commission, not a formal ANRAD filing, correct?
Yes.
So at what point are we gonna be able to put in like an O&M plan and some other items? Like, I don't want that stuff to slip by and whatever. Like, if they've come to you, if they've violated like things years past and everything, you guys have to be really cognizant of this team here and them pulling the wool over your eyes again. You know, it's got to be on them. Can't let this keep going on. You know, I don't even know about letting this partial delineation occur.
Yeah, well, I think once we have engineering support through a peer review, they'll work with us in making sure we have all the proper O&M plan and all the proper things that we need. Okay.
Ready to vote on that motion?
I was Stu talking. I can't.
Yeah, I think Stu's trying to talk. Stu, you need to talk through your phone. I'm not sure.
Not on.
No, you're still. He's
muted.
He's still muted, but I don't know. I thought he was supposed to be using his phone. It's not working, Stu.
Stu,
I
you're
cover?
talking through your computer, not your phone. Your phone is a separate box. And so if you mute and talk through your phone, I'm asking your phone to unmute. You can't see that? No.
Your phone, can you unmute your phone? No. Did I miss anything, Stu? Why don't you call my cell phone? Why don't you call me? I just don't want to miss anything that you wanted something
Is
said.
that better?
Here we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. What I was going to say was to Amanda, I think Bruce mentioned that we have Salem Country Club come back to visit us on a periodic basis, once a month, once every 3 months, whatever it is to find out what's going on there throughout the year, and do that for the period of 3 years at least.
Okay,
That make
whatever
sense?
you guys feel is appropriate.
I thought that once we get the peer review, that would be
Yeah.
included in a
Right.
regular, reporting requirement from them.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is a good idea.
Did I miss anything, Stu?
No. No.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So we were talking about scheduling. So let's just say that what Lucia said is that I believe it's the 13th of May. I don't know, she can correct me, but
11th.
The 11th of May. They come before us. At that point, what do we have at that point? We have
not sure, because we have to get somebody on our side involved with this. So I'm not sure. I just know that
the only reason I'm bringing it up. So basically, I'm just going by planting season. So it's not going to happen in the spring because they're going to miss the planting season in the spring. They're certainly not going to be able to encumber trees in the summer. The next possible time they could do it would be in the fall. So at that point, whatever plan we have in place, they're not going to do a restoration plan until the fall.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would make a lot of sense. Yeah. I agree with that.
I mean, I kind of want to set the
Yeah, because
expectation.
the whole thing's going to be availability of trees and
Right.
the times of year that healthy trees are available.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we can figure that out as we get started with this.
All right. I just think we should set the expectations of the people on the commission and also of the public, because this is going to, a lot of people want to see the restoration happen right away, and I'd love to see it happen right away, but realistically, this isn't going to happen till the fall at the earliest.
Yeah.
By that time, by the fall, we should have a very good plan in place as to what trees are, available and going where.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so if we can move forward here, are we ready to do a roll call on that?
Yeah, so do you want me to put a wetlands restoration plan to be discussed in future meetings? So we're not redoing this. I mean, it does take a lot of time every time I redraft an enforcement order. And that's, this is taking up a lot of my time, this enforcement action. So right now, it's just, all you have on it is a wetland delineation, a partial to come back to the April 13th hearing. That's all that's on this right now.
Yes.
I thought we were gonna do an ANRAD also.
But the ANRAD would be for the full,
Yeah,
I
I
thought
think
we
the
said that,
ANRAD has to involve our peer reviewer.
Okay,
They
right,
can-
right.
So they can concur with the delineation that's being presented. So I think April 11th will be just for the wetlands delineation and resource area delineation, both with chapter 131 and our bylaw.
April 13th, May 11th.
And then May 11th will be another milestone to see what can be done for that day.
all right, so are you guys willing to accept an ANRAD or a wetland delineation plan on the day of the April hearing? And then just get it, if they bring it to the meeting and that's the first time you're seeing it, you guys are okay with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Can I, if I could, Mr. Chairman?
I don't think.
Yes.
Just from a schedule to help Lucia in terms of not having to rewrite an enforcement order, I think if you were to put a catch-all in that said the Salem Country Club shall submit a proposal for a sequence of filings that leads to the things that the members are talking about, the filing of a complete delineation, a request for an O&M plan and restoration. If you pile that all in, that we give you a proposed schedule for those events, you can build that out in the future without having to rewrite the enforcement order.
I think with, under the peer, I think we'll take a little baby step at first, and when we get the peer review created, that everything will formulate from that. And that's not going to happen by April 13th. But maybe, whatever the procedure is, by May 11th, we could have something, going in that direction. But I do want to make sure that we're talking about a peer review, that the cost is going to be borne by the Salem Country Club. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. But we're not voting on a peer review right now. We're just voting on the partial delineation.
No. Well, that's part of the motion. The motion is to.
Well, the peer review, you guys already made that. That was Vivaldi, seconded by Stu, and it passed unanimously 7-0. Okay, so right now, just to keep things so that everyone can try to get some sort of a night tonight. So the motion's on the floor for just enforcement order with a wetlands delineation, a partial to be submitted to the Concom no later than April 13th, and for the Salem Country Club to attend the April 13th hearing. That motion was made by Mr. Vivaldi, seconded by Comac. And as you guys aren't going to add any action items, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. We can worry about the action items from now until April 13th and move forward. Once I get the bones of the enforcement order, it's not that big of a deal. So shall I do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Chairman Lazaris.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo.
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi.
Yes.
Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
Commissioner Comac.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so that passes 7-0 unanimously.
Excellent. Very good.
And did we want to try to open this to members of the public one last time to speak?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I don't see any hands, so I don't think anyone wants to talk.
Okay. Is Councilor Manning still here?
I don't see her.
Okay. I just wanted to thank her for her efforts.
The tree company is here. Did you want to speak with Dan Mayer? Because if he made one phone call, this would have never happened. And you guys do not want to discuss fining anybody?
Yeah, he's gonna get fined. Salem Country Club's gonna get fined. Everybody's gonna get fined. Whenever that happens, if it has to happen today, or April 13th, yes, to the max. They can use their tax rebate to pay
I'd
for
like
it.
to see that wetlands delineation before we fine them, so he.
Okay, did you want to talk to Mayor Tree so that, going forward, he knows that if he's gonna work in the city of Peabody, he really needs to, figure out where there's wetlands and contact me. I mean, I have
He
someone
doesn't
right
know
now
that
that
already.
has to file to take down one tree,
I'd like to
like
hear
in their
from him.
backyard.
I'd like to hear from him.
All right, so I am going to promote him to a panelist and hopefully.
Okay, Dan Mayer here. I've been listening all along since you started.
Okay. Are you gonna respond or speak to us?
Nobody had asked me a question or anything, but I've been listening all night, so I understand the position of the commission. I understand it, but I completely understand where it's at tonight.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Of course.
How long have you been in business taking trees down? I see your trucks everywhere. How long have you been?
I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. Mayor Tree is about 25 years old now.
Okay, and have you ever had to go before the commission to ask for permission to take down trees? Do you understand the process? In 25 years, have you ever had to deal with the commission for any kind of tree removal?
This is my first time dealing with the Peabody Conservation Commission. I think are the ones that usually the homeowner or the customer that's dealing with that. We do a lot of municipal work, a lot of government work, federal, state, cities and towns.
So when the Salem Country Club contracted you to take down almost 700 trees, did it like pass through your brain like that maybe you needed to talk to somebody in the city about it? I'm just curious about how this happened, and for a mature company and that's been doing business for a while.
I'm glad to hear you're all going out there to see it, because it sounds like many of you haven't seen the site yet, so that may change your view. I know it sounds like a lot of trees. There was a lot of hazard trees. Nobody mentioned the dead trees. Hazard trees were under the care, custody, control of the club. They're using the Premier Engineering Group. We're not surveyors, we're not engineers. We're in there dealing with, we're constantly dealing with trees that are interfering with utilities, public. You have a golf course and it's got to cohabitate with something, with the forest. And I was glad to learn tonight that this, I didn't realize it was under Chapter 61B. So that is a forest management plan. I didn't realize that. So, that's meant to be managed. If a forester was out there, then they probably would have selected some of these trees and certainly dealt with the hazard trees and such. So, but yeah, and we're out there in the wintertime, snow covered. We were only out there for 2 weeks. Like I said, I know it sounds like a lot of trees. That's not unusual for us. We did a lot of golf courses this winter. We do, lots of state trees. cities and towns where we're under the guidance of our customer. You know, we have to trust them implicitly. We don't know, you know, it'd be like knowing if we're on their property, you know, much less if it's wetlands, but everything was snow covered really when we were there at the time. Yeah, so hopefully that helps you, but I think once you go out there and see it, it'll, you know, you'll at least have a different perspective of it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue and we have to do a site visit, so we can do a roll call.
Yep, so you're gonna continue to April 13th. I didn't think I heard a motion for that. We already decided, I don't think you need to make a motion for the site visit. I'm just gonna post that. But I don't think I heard anyone make the motion to continue until April 13th. The enforcement order was definitely motioned.
I motion to continue till April 13th.
Second,
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call. Chairman Lazares,
Yes. Can you hear me?
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Comac, Commissioner Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
yes,
Okay, so this will be on our April 13th agenda under enforcement action at the end of the hearing.
Move to adjourn.
second,
second,
All right, so motion to adjourn made by author, seconded by Rita Marie. And roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yeah.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Comac,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
yes.
All right, so the meeting adjourns at 9:06.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
for your
Thank you very
time.
much.
Night.